Hey Gear Seekers, I'm Nick. We're checking out a brand new X570 board. You heard that right. It's an X570 board that supports Ryzen 5000 processors right out of the box without a firmware update. It's the ASUS ROG Crosshair VIII Dark Hero. Wow, that's a bit of a tongue twister. Anyways, guys, as usual with our motherboard videos, these videos are not reviews. So let's check it out. As mentioned in the intro, ladies and gents, these motherboard videos are not reviews. They're just overviews so you can find out what's physically on the board and what's in the box when you buy a brand new motherboard. Also, guys, we've got chapters in all of our videos, so if you want to skip to a certain part of the video, it's as easy as using your mouse and mousing over the playback bar or looking in the description for the timestamps. Anyways, guys, let's check out this brand new X570 board. Alright, ladies and gents, it's time to check out the ASUS ROG Crosshair VIII Dark Hero. Alright, you know what time it is. It's time for us to get the motherboard out of the box so we can take a little bit of a closer look at all of the things that come with this motherboard. Alrighty, first up we've got a coaster. I feel like ASUS is doing a little bit of a meme here, considering they've actually included two coasters in this box, and you're about to see the second one. Here it is, ladies and gents. It's another coaster. I don't know why they included two coasters in this box. I'm sorry. It just has to be said, please give us USB sticks, especially on these more high-end boards. It makes a lot more sense. No one has a DVD drive. I don't care what anyone says. They just don't have DVD drives these days. Right, next up we've got this. It's a sheet of stickers for all of those people who love to put stickers all over their things. This may or may not be your cup of tea. Personally, not my cup of tea, but if it's yours, all gravy. Alright, now there is the user guide. Now the user guide is pretty handy. It's got a lot of documentation, basically tells you what everything is on the board, where everything is on the board, and how to configure certain things on the BIOS. If you're a first time builder, this is an excellent resource. If you've built 100 times, also an excellent resource. Next up, we've got a collection of RGB cables. There's one addressable adapter cable, and there's also an extension cable for a 4-pin 12-volt RGB cable as well. Next up, we've got a collection of SATA or SATA cables for your 2.5-inch SSDs or your spinning ROS drives. There's also a collection of standoffs and screws for the two included M.2 slots on the board, which we're going to take a little bit of a look at a little bit later on in the video as well. There's also this little block. I call it a block, but basically what it is allows you to plug in all your front panel cables for your lights and your switches and everything that lets you know that your computer's on, and plug it straight into the motherboard without fiddling around and trying to figure out what everything is. And last but not least is the Wi-Fi antenna for the built-in Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.0. Alright, let's get that motherboard out so we can take a little bit of a closer look at the Crosshair VIII Dark Hero. You guys ready? Let's do it. First up, we've got the front panel audio connector. There's a PWM fan header. There's an LN2 jumper that allows you to switch it to LN2 mode if you're doing some overclocking with liquid nitrogen rather. And there's a safe boot and safe retry button for that as well. There's a TPM header. There's a 4-pin 12-volt RGB header and a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB header. There's two USB 2.0 headers for things like AIOs and RGB controllers. There's a slow mode switch. There's also the front panel connectors for all your lights and switches and everything to let you know your PC's on, and another PWM fan connector right up the end. If we look at the right hand side of the board, there's another fan header, which is a DC fan header, a PWM fan header. There's 8 SATA or SATA ports for your 2.5-inch SSDs or your spinning ROS drives. There's also a right angle USB 3.0 header, another PWM fan connector, a USB Type-C header, a 24-pin power connector to send all of that juice to your brand new X570 Dark Hero. There's a reset button if you're doing some bench testing, a power button, another 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB header, and last but not least, another 4-pin 12-volt RGB header. Along the top, we've got a postcode LED screen for diagnosing if anything's happening with your PC, and 3 more PWM fan connectors for your CPU fan and your AIO pump, etc, etc. There's an 8-pin EPS power connector to send power to your CPU, and a supplemental 4-pin EPS power connector as well. If we take a look at the PCIe slots, there's 3 full-size by 16 slots. However, the top one is wide by 16, the middle is by 8, and the bottom is by 4. There's also a single by 1 slot with an open end, which allows you to plug in a by 4 device into that slot as well. This is one of the few X570 boards that does not have active cooling for the chipset. What ASUS actually opted doing here was putting a giant heatsink that covers the chipset and about 1/4 of the board, which I personally think is quite nice because it makes the system quieter in general. The board features a 14+2 phase digital VRM setup with 90 amp power stages. You can also see that there's quite a chunky heatsink across the top of the board. There's also another heatsink that is underneath the IO shield, and they're both connected with a heat pipe to bridge the gap. This is one of the first X570 boards to support Ryzen 5000 right out of the gate without doing a BIOS update, and it's a standard AM4 socket with standard AM4 cooler mounting as well. If we take a little bit of a close look next to the socket, there's an additional PWM fan connector as well. If we flip the board over, you can see that it doesn't have a full cover backplate. There's actually no backplate except for the socket backplate, but yeah, pretty standard stuff here. There's 4 DDR4 RAM slots which support up to 128 gigs of RAM in total at 4866 MHz overclocked. Let's quickly pull the heat sinks off the 2 M.2 slots on the board so we can take a little bit of a closer look as well. There's 2 M.2 slots on this board. There's one above the top PCIe slot, and there's one that is in line with that by 1 slot with the open end as well. For rear I/O, we've got a clear CMOS button and a BIOS flashback button. There's 2 antenna connectors for the Wi-Fi 6 antenna that comes with this motherboard as well. There is a whole lot of USB on this motherboard, as you can probably tell here. There's USB 3.2, USB 3.1 Gen 2, there's 10 gig USB ports and 5 gig ports. There's also 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, another 1 gig Ethernet adapter as well. There's USB Type-C, and there's 7.1 digital surround sound with SPDIF and an integrated I/O shield. Now, ladies and gents, it's been a bit of a while, but we haven't visited our friends over at Peel Corp, so let's see what they're up to and get a little bit of a nice peel going on here. Look how nice this looks. Ooh, yeah. All right, let's do it again, because we're not quite done yet. Look at this one. It's a nice, long, slow-mo peel. You guys have been telling us that you've been missing this kind of stuff on the channel. So we're giving it to you guys in abundance right now. Look at that. Unpeel that ROG logo. But you know what time it is now, ladies and gents. It's B-roll time. Let's do it. You said we could be anyone. Those easy lights are burning bright, brighter than the desert sun. Alright, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this first look and overview of the ASUS ROG Crosshair VIII Dark Hero. Wow, that is such a long name and such a tongue twister. As I mentioned, it's a brand new X570 board that supports Ryzen 5000 processors right out of the box. Now, if you're interested in the price, now I don't think these boards are out yet, but I do have pricing. They're going for around $400 US or around 849 Australian dollars. Wow, we are really getting reamed with Australian pricing at the moment. Anyways, guys, I think they're coming out in Australia on the 23rd of November. I'm not sure about the US or any other regions when they're coming out, but that's as far as I can tell by Australian retailers' websites. Also, guys, we will have a build coming with this board very, very soon. We're gonna do something really, really cool and a little bit different. So make sure you're subscribed so you can see that video when it comes out. And if you like the music you heard here, I make all the music. It's available over on our Patreon. And if you wanna get early access to videos just like this one, we're over on Floatplane. Once again, thank you so very much for watching. I'm your boy Nick with Gear Seekers. You peak, we seek. And it is hot today in Sydney, like properly warm. Summer's coming, I can feel it. I'm excited. Let's go to the beach. Although I probably won't look too good on the beach, Claire.
Why?
I let myself down this year. Remember at the start of the year when I said I was gonna like exercise more and eat healthy? The eating healthy is not the problem, right? Because I've been doing most of that most of the time, but the exercise, oh, this pandemic has really hurt my plans for this year. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching and have a good weekend. Or I don't know when this video is coming out. Maybe you just had a good weekend. I don't know. Thanks for watching.